Alright everyone, really quick here, now more than ever, there is a link in the description to my BitChute channel, and you should definitely join me there. Not only am I still in a close second place, now behind Sargon, we need to retake that hill for Clankdom because he's already got mines. Not only that, but as this video suggests, YouTube might be about to roll out changes that could kill the platform. I've been continuously optimistic about YouTube's chances throughout time. Despite Adpocalypse, and then Adpocalypse 2, and then Vox Adpocalypse, and all of the other problems on site, all of which, by the way, have been manufactured by pearl clutchers. Now they're trying to throttle the comment system. Now, for a year, they've talked about this. Well, maybe the internet should just not have comments on anything, which is why Dissenter exists by Gab, which I'm sure that more people would be using if YouTube does this. Now YouTube's like, well, I guess for users in India, they've rolled out the idea of turning off comments by default on new uploads. Now, it's not exactly clear. Do they simply default to that, but you can manually re-enable them, or are they simply off entirely? Because they've already turned off comments on the videos of anyone that appears to be under 18, which I'm sure has been a problem for baby-faced people. Can you imagine Andy Milonakis, like if he weren't famous, he'd be like, fuck, I guess I'll never talk to anyone on this platform. It'd be hilarious. Here's the thing though. A much better idea would be just kick all the kids off YouTube, make it an 18+ site. Then you wouldn't have to worry about any of the arguments being made by pearl clutchers. I guarantee if YouTube throttles the comment system site-wide, if this is some sort of a dry run, like going in dry specifically, for something that they want to roll out site-wide, a lot of people will leave the platform. Because a lot of people like to communicate with their audience. As far as edgy comments go, here's a clue on YouTube. Here's what you can do. You can ignore what the person is saying. You can debate what the person is saying. Or you can mute them so you don't have to see what they're saying. You're able to do all of these things. When the idea in, I guess, showing my age here, the internet, 5 to 10 years ago, was if you don't like what you're seeing, go elsewhere or fucking block somebody. Like if I saw people like spamming on my videos, saying weird shit, attacking my subscribers, they blocked from the channel. YouTube, by the way, has done a great job of cleaning up spam comments. In fact, I would argue it's a little bit too draconian. Their automated system is much better now at detecting them. The problem is now YouTube just says, well, fuck it. Comments on YouTube are terrible and toxic. And this is basically prefaced on a bunch of hit pieces by the legacy media. They want comments gone. You see, the thing is, it's rather conspicuous. What's happened is that sites like BuzzFeed, Vox, Salon have YouTube channels. Most of the comments they get are negative on a lot of their videos because they keep pushing a really whacked out political agenda. They make videos that are objectively false, they make propaganda, or they make stuff that's boring. MTV News had this with its white people New Year's resolutions video like 3 years ago. They make incoherent stuff and they get called out on it. They get called dumb because they're being dumb in the way that they're, they chastise people for their race. They say weird political stuff. They give ideas that are terrible. They try to push, all sorts of weird behavior that's unhelpful for society or for anyone engaging in it. By the way, not as a moralist do I say this, but just like, like the idea of being paused or something like that. They seem okay with these ideas. I think that's a terrible idea. But that's just me. I'm not a Californian. Maybe that matters. So they get called out. This is the same thing that happens with me or anyone else. I realize when I upload a video, people watch the video, and it's sort of like a critique of that work. People make comments. Sometimes they love it. Sometimes people fucking hate it. I've made videos before that almost got ratioed. Like when I talked about, the fact that I happen to be pro-vaccine because I understand medical science. A lot of people didn't like that. Or I talk about MGTOW, and some people that are MGTOW, they didn't like what I had to say. Or I talk about anything else under the sun. When I talk about I'm pro-choice. When I talk about, yes, I support gay rights. When I talk about how I think that people should own recreational McNukes, I don't believe in any gun control. When I say that I think the tax rate should be slashed to maybe 10% of what it currently is, ideally. When I say we should not bomb foreign countries. I've had people that are like, gung-ho for war, trying to attack me lately because I'm like, hey, I don't want to go to war with Iran. They're like, well, they're developing nukes. And it's like the same old fucking shit that we've heard from the neocons for 1,000 years. people will comment and they will weigh in with their opinions. The fact that someone says you're stupid, or the fact that someone swears, that doesn't make it a toxic comment. It certainly doesn't make it a toxic environment. And these people, by the way, newcomers to YouTube as though they all are, none of them realize or are not honest enough to admit that YouTube's commenting areas were way, way worse 10 years ago. Can you fucking imagine? Back before any spam control, back before moderation on YouTube cared about personal insults in any way, shape, or form, no matter how vicious they happen to be, back when YouTube didn't really have a function to deal with defamation short of calling a lawyer up, yeah, the comment system there was a little more dicey. Really, it gets cleaned up around 2012 or 2013. The platform starts to modernize and mature a little bit around then, the mid-2010s. In the last couple of years, though, it's gone now in the total different direction, which is now you've got a scrubbing of all of the interesting, edgy stuff that made YouTube fun. Now they're talking about removing comments function. Twitter is basically dicking around with the same idea with the likes system. So is YouTube really going to commit tech suicide? That's basically what it would boil down to if they remove the comments function. So I can't engage with my fans. I mean, they've removed the messaging system. They're talking about, by the way, getting rid of Google Hangouts. Like, they're already planning, I think, in the next few months or whatever, to get rid of the multi-person calls. So you'll be able to do, like, the Hangouts on YouTube in order to, like, do a live stream, but not even that. They're going to get rid of that, supposedly, too, within the next year or so. So YouTube, no live streaming, no comment function, no messaging function. It's not really YouTube anymore now, is it? You can't communicate with anybody. So you're just trying to prevent people from communicating. Now, what YouTube should do, here's what YouTube should do if it wants to make 10 times the money it's currently making. Here's what they need to do. They should put out a presser saying, we stand by free speech and we operate under US law. We are a platform, not a publisher, and we're not interested in policing site behavior to the degree that some people want us to because it is not feasible to do so. When they get dogpiled, they should weaponize the creators on platform. Let us fight the battle for you when we've got all of YouTube behind us. Hundreds of millions of people. What's BuzzFeed going to do with a hit piece? They will get a tidal wave of people will steamroll them. But we need at least one of the big tech firms to shield us and allow us to do that. And they're like, well, you know, the advertisers get flighty because all these sites are saying that our comments are toxic and make school shootings and stuff too. No school shooting ever happened because of YouTube. Some idiot decided to watch YouTube videos before shooting up a school, maybe. They can blame it on whatever they want. Just like Doom or you know, any other violent video game from yesteryear was blamed for shootings and hate and bigotry and stuff. They've been blaming books and video games and TV and radio and every other technology that ever existed. The degeneracy of our time, the bad behavior of our time is due to one specific thing in time that happens to be new and novel and creative. That's the same fucking shit they've done all along. For 1,000 years. I'm sure back when writing was, back when they invented petroglyphs, somebody said that bad behavior was the result of obscene petroglyphs and tried to ban them from those too. Your spiral has too many arms on it. This is obviously a symbol of hatred and war. This is going to bring down bad luck from the gods. We've got to ban this. Here, quick chisel his petroglyph off and keep him from owning a chisel. I bet anything stuff like that happened in antiquity. You know, Urg worship wrong god. You know, it's basically the same thing. And so now lightning comes down and killed my wife. We must kill Urg now in retribution. The idea that there's extremism online, the spreading of hate, toxic comments, I said, dude, things are way more sanitized on YouTube and everywhere else than they were 5 to 10 years ago. Nobody ever had a fucking problem then. Oh, that's right, except like people like Bill O'Reilly trying to say that the degeneracy of that time was the result of 4chan or Tumblr or something like that. Far left 4chan, I think that he said at the time. Remember when Oprah Winfrey, genius and messiah as though she supposedly is according to liberals the world over, remember that time she got fooled into saying a notorious meme about over 9,000 on air with regards to child predators no less at the time? Never an apology for that. She took it seriously, and all the soccer moms watching her vapid program kept taking it seriously, probably still believe it. It's a moral panic. It's a bunch of bullshit. But if YouTube decides to get rid of the commenting system and live streaming, well, there's not a whole lot left now, is there? By the way, those live chats Those super chats, some of you rely upon for your income because it's the only way that you're allowed to make income. Who told you so about not wanting to rely upon things like that? So no ads for you, no live chats, you're not allowed to crowdfund, you're not allowed to do anything because you're one of the wrong thinkers of our time. If you are a content creator, it's gone past, 3 years ago they said, well, we're going to target for censorship purposes, demote or ban or something, people who are objectively hateful. They're trying to promulgate violence. And then it was the generically hateful. And now it's the edgy, like, conspiracy theories, or people who believe in alternative medicine, or people who do commentary and they're just a little bit out there, or they swear too much, or they're under 18. So they've broadened it, and the next step will simply be you're creating content. The fact that you're a content creator with an original opinion will be seen as wrong thing. And to them it is, because it's anathema to big corporations guzzling up all the money. Those ad firms don't want independent content creation. It costs more to advertise across a platform with that much content anyway. They're going to start banning the little people of the site. Anyone who's got under a certain amount of subscribers pretty soon, they'll probably have to pay to upload or something like that. They'll throttle it any way they can. I'm not talking about YouTube. I don't think YouTube wants to do that. They've dragged their feet and done as little as possible, which is to their credit. What they should do, though, is just unleash the juggernaut of content on the site, on the legacy media, and go to war with them. We'd win. Wouldn't take that long at all, but we need to be shielded from being banned by calling them what they are, propagandist shills. That's exactly what the legacy media is. They're a bunch of propagandists that are seeking to convince soccer mom America and regular average Joe Ukrainian alike that there's some sort of systemic problem on YouTube and elsewhere with extremism and hate and all sorts of other terrible things. But there's not. The problem is those soccer moms don't know how to use these sites. But they're willing to make a call to their senator saying that we need change. By the way, was it Hawley there? I think introducing a bill that will probably be DOA in the Dem-controlled House, a bill to prevent censorship on these platforms. Force them to abide by existing law. Are you a publisher? And then you're legally liable for what's on your site, but you can police it as you want. Or are you a platform and you've got to leave people alone for topical political views? I think that most of the sites would choose the latter. With Google, I'm not 100% sure. They might choose to be a publisher because their AI system is so adept they can simply scrub a bunch of content. We'll just scrub anything that's remotely edgy whatsoever. We'll just highly censor the platform. That's probably what they would do, unfortunately. Regardless, again, links in the descriptions to all the other sites I'm on, especially BitChute and Gab and some of these others. I'm on Parler now as well. It's important because YouTube might go the way of the dinosaur, unfortunately. It might end up like Facebook. Facebook is crumbling. YouTube's not yet. But with all the algorithmic demotion on the site, it's getting harder and harder to justify putting as much effort into it anyway. I might start primarily uploading elsewhere. I mean, if nobody's seeing the shit that I'm making, I'm not on the related videos for most people. I'm buried behind priority creators for search and everything else. Notification system doesn't work most of the time for most people. The video's not getting served out to people in a timely fashion. I'm being abused by the site that I've spent more than a decade making content and thus making money for. That's about all. Peace out.